Walk with me. I love the energy after rain. Am I weird in thinking that it just feels different? Like outside, like right after the rain, the ground's a little bouncier. I feel like the animals are a little louder. I love the feeling. We're in a shift season. I know those of you that have walked with us for a while, you know I love and am passionate about talking about shifts. And normally when I'm talking shifts, I'm talking about mindset shifts, right? Perspective shifts. Continue to move toward our own potential, to continue to move toward not only what we're meant to do and the impact we're meant to make, but kind of becoming who we're meant to become. It's a constant state of shift. But what I mean by we're in a shift season is I mean we, all of us, like the world right now, is just in a unique point in time where it's like there's just a lot of shift happening. You can call it transition. I stay away from the word change because sometimes people get scared, but it is what it is, right? Change, evolution. We had a conversation the other day on a word that's been on my mind and heart lately on disruptor. Did you guys catch that conversation? Did you like that dialogue? Are you becoming a disruptor in your own life? And that word applies. Like there's just a lot of disruption happening right now. And I use the word disruption as a positive. I see it as an evolution, a shift to where we're meant to go, where we can go. But I guess it all is a matter of perspective. Just disruption, when it starts to happen, it's good if you're on the side of those disrupting. I guess it's bad if you're stuck on the side that's being disrupted. It's bad if you're the horse and buggy. It's good if you're the Model T, right? It's good if you're the Netflix, not so good if you're Blockbuster. It's amazing if you're Tesla or electric cars. Probably don't want to be creating the diesel engines. All right, you guys understand. Disruption, it's a positive thing. If you're on the side of disruption, belief-wise, thought-wise, economic-wise. But I think at the end of the day, disruption is actually great for all of us at a consumer level. Disruption, another word that fits in line would be innovation, right? Advancement, a pursuit of better. Disruption is a movement toward better. It's stopping the way things have been done just because they've been done that way and shifting our perspective to a new and better way. And we all benefit from times and seasons of shift, disruption periods, because once we get over the transition, we realize that it ends up being better for us as consumers, as people, as entrepreneurs. And I think we're in a season of shift, a disruptive period as a whole. And it makes sense, right? If you think about it, you know, I always have my little logical lens. Like, think about it, what we just came off of. I mean, a unique time in human history of a pandemic, isolation, forced evolution, the actual routines that we're running maybe by osmosis, right? Just because got totally interrupted, which opens room for disruption. We had to find another and better way, right? Things that are going on in the political environment and all the ramifications. It's just a perfect season for shift across everything. Now, normally in our conversations, I talk more generically on just mindset, right? Things that I know are going to help you no matter what path you're on right now, no matter what you're doing, no matter what your desires, your ambitions, your aspirations are calling you toward. I know it'll help you just live a better life, a healthier life, a more successful and, more importantly, more fulfilled life. I very rarely talk specifically on like what I do on a day-to-day, but I know it's no secret that I've been in the call it direct selling channel now for, over 22, almost 23 years. It's all I've ever done in my adult life since 19, and kind of a unique perspective just by means of experience, not design, that I've been on all sides, in the field, a sales leader, starting from scratch, a top producer, owner, founder of a scrappy startup that had to figure out a way, that went through crazy scale, international brands, public companies, selling of companies, preparing to go public of companies, buying back of companies, merging of companies. It's just kind of a unique roller coaster of perspective. But it's all I've ever done for almost 23 years. So I want to share what's on my mind and heart right now of just some, call them shifts, that I'm seeing across the sector that I live in every single day. Because I know many of you are in direct sales, or at least are entrepreneurs, solopreneurs, micro-entrepreneurs, and I think the conversation will be relevant to all of you. And even those maybe outside the specific channel, I think most of it's relevant no matter where you're at, because it is a season of shift. And I know it's not just direct sales that I'm talking about. If that's okay with all of you, if you wouldn't mind me just sharing you the 30,000 foot view, what I'm seeing from within this specific community as applies to today, and more importantly, how we as individuals, entrepreneurs, influencers, leaders can adapt, get ahead, and be on the side of the disruption, making a positive and better impact for people. Let me know below if that's okay for y'all. And for those of you new to the crew, welcome. We walk together, usually around the same time, usually weekly, sharing inspired thoughts, stream of consciousness, whatever's on my mind, my heart at the moment. And the only thing I ask, if you're walking with us, is don't be shy. You're on my left, you're on my right. Say hello below, chime in with perspective. And if anybody comes to your mind or your heart through any of these conversations, like, oh, this person needs to hear this, give the gift, tag them in the comments, share this in your feed. You can catch some past ones on the podcast, Alive by Design. So let's talk about a season of shift kind of within my space. First, probably, oh, look at the view. Look at the sun just peeking through the clouds. I think I'll start with number one, the fact that I don't even know what the heck to call the space I'm in. I think probably the biggest disruption that's happening, the shift that's happening, is it's no longer just a channel. There is a channel consolidation happening right now. There is this rise of, the buzzword today is these omnichannel companies and brands, and omnichannel, fancy language for just saying multiple channels, no longer just one thing. It used to be not long ago that like one lane was one lane. If you were a direct selling brand, you were a direct selling brand. If you were a network marketing or MLM or affiliate marketing company, that's the lane you were in. If you were a retail brand, that's what you did. If you were a traditional D2C, that's who you were. Like, it was one lane that defined who you were. And you guys, that today, the disruption that's happening has gone completely out the window. There is just a consolidation of all these different strategies to bring a product or a brand, a mission and a movement to a consumer in any way that's most effective. You're seeing huge companies consolidate all of the channels that I just mentioned into one aligned strategy. And it's super interesting. Every couple months, there's some big headline or some big acquisition of some retail brand or some Instagram native direct-to-consumer brand, combining with some, direct sales network marketing brand. It's funny, this industry has had an identity crisis for so long. There's so many different names. Everybody kind of ran away from the network marketing term or MLM term because of negative connotation and called it whatever they felt like they wanted to call it. Social selling, social commerce, direct sales, affiliate marketing, influencer marketing. Guys, all of them stem from one concept. Getting a product or a service or an idea out to more people, person to person, word of mouth, based on relationship and trust. And it makes sense that now more and more companies have started going in this direction, especially with the rise of social media and attention being so hard to get online and becoming more and more expensive, it just makes sense that the quote-unquote traditional, which is funny, we call paid media, mainstream advertising, celeb endorsements as traditional, because prior to that being the traditional, what was the traditional way we found out about anything? From people we know, like, and trust, and we care about. Funny language that we use. We're going back to really what is the original, the OG traditional, just sharing things we enjoy and use and love and, get value from with people that we care about. And that has morphed into a bunch of different names and terms and channels and categories. And that whole bucket, whatever term you want to use, of the word of mouth space is now feeding right into direct to consumer online. Makes sense as our spending continues to shift to e-commerce and right online. That's just where people are. It makes sense that those start to merge. It's now even shifting into retail and things from the store, because we buy things from the store that we've seen online. We buy things from the store that we heard from a friend, right? The brand awareness is built across all the different ways, and it doesn't matter where our point of sale is, whether it's right there on the website or on the shelf in front of the store, or on, Amazon, or, our friend has given it to us right out of their backpack. It's all looked at as one and the same. So this blending and bleeding together of what used to be independent concepts, independent channels, independent ways of bringing products to market are all now being meshed into just one thing, right? How do we get a great idea, a great product, a great brand out to the world? And we don't even have language to call it right now, right? But these omni-channel strategies. I think the second thing, because of that is a massive shift that's happening in the space, is you have to have real value, right? The second thing that comes to mind is real value, which sounds silly, right? At the end of the day, business success comes down to creating something that adds value to somebody else. The reason a consumer wants anything is we believe the value, right? Exchange is worth it. Why do we buy what we buy? Why do we want what we want? Because we believe the value it'll bring to us, what it does for us day to day, how it makes us feel, how it makes us look, right? What it accomplishes is worth whatever the monetary exchange is. At the end of the day, it comes down to value. But in this channel, there was a long period of time where the value just wasn't needed. It was driven by a vision of an opportunity, a promise of a financial reward, a pitch of how you can have financial freedom. And you guys, that worked. It's what attracted me into this space 23 years ago, seeing a hypothetical of a business model that I could become financially independent. It wasn't a focus on a product or a service. That worked for so long, not today. You guys, today it has to be a real product that adds real value, right, at a fair price to a consumer. And at the end of the day, it has to be to that consumer. And not only does it have to have real value in a real product, you got to have real expectations. I think the old days of overemphasizing how easy something can be, selling how easy something can be, people are just done with that. Everybody's smarter than that. Guys, we live in a world where we just got burnt out on fake news. We distrust fake news. We crave real. Tell us real. We don't want the hyperbole. We don't want the exaggeration. We just want to know what's real. Give me a real value, a real product, and a real expectation, and I'll take that. And our BS meters as people have gotten very, very well tuned. Like, we know, we feel when something just isn't real, is quote unquote too good to be true. And we initially and instantly write it off. So I think not only is the channel all blending and bleeding together, I think this concept of real, right? Real value, real products, real expectations is what people are looking for. We're moving away from the old get rich quick, right? Shiny object, lotto winner mentality, because we know it's just not real. Just tell us how it is. It's a shift. I think a third one kind of going down that conversation when it comes to product is not only does it have to be a real product, but the speed and velocity at which we can bring new innovations to the world is faster than ever before. Like, I laugh, right? Been in the nutrition space for 15 plus years, and I remember launching products, and it used to take us a year and a half, 2 years from an idea to when a product hit a marketplace. You can't survive today with that type of delay. Like, the velocity of innovation is crazy today. The speed of which things can and have to be developed and go from idea, right, to proof of concept to available and making an impact, guys, has been compressed and condensed. You have to be able to have a velocity of innovation, which makes things difficult because more and more and more can also create layers of complexity. You guys, complexity and confusion are an enemy of inertia and momentum. So you got to be able to both simultaneously move fast and have variety for the consumer out there to always be grabbing attention while constantly keeping the main thing the main thing. It's one of the things I think that separates what we do in our community is we can have a constant state of rapid innovation, new conversations, products, brands, flavors, drops monthly, but keeping the main thing, not derailing or complicating the conversation. Kind of a funny paradox or dichotomy, but velocity nonetheless, the pace at which we present new has to be there. Our attention spans of shrinking, the consumer world is shrink. You got to have new and variety constantly. I think that also means who we're speaking to is a real consumer, not someone that's just a paid endorser or influencer or sales representative or brand ambassador or someone that's earning or getting rewarded for sharing. But at the end of the day, a real consumer, which means we got to move right from being consumer focused, which was the shift a few years back and a big shift for our industry, to now it's beyond focus. It's consumer obsessed, right? Being obsessed with the experience a consumer is having at every level. The experience from the point that they learn about it to the technology and the ease of which we're able to purchase, like Amazon has changed that climate for everybody. One-click buying, simple process. Guys, technology today, that's not a nice to have. That is an expectation of consumers everywhere. Disruption, right? But it's a shift to the experience that consumers get. So I think the technology aspect, right, would maybe be a fourth shift or disruption that's happening within this channel that I think transcends this channel. That's just everyone today when it comes to the consumer. And like I said, most of these conversations I think apply no matter what it is you're focused on right now. One that's maybe specific to a type of company within my space would be a massive shift on how a company approaches a community. You know, it wasn't that long ago where, you know, a lot of the brand was focused on the company, the direction and strategy was focused on the company. But because of social media today and the tools that are freely available to any ambitious entrepreneur, today there has been a disruption. There's been a shift where the ability to build yourself, you Inc., you as a company, you as a brand is so possible. You can be a brand. In many cases, you as a person can become a bigger brand than even the product brand that you're excited to share. You as a brand is a shift. And with that comes a different way of thinking as a company approaching where the company's primary strategy, in my opinion, I'm talking tomorrow, where we're going, is to become a platform. Where a company serves as a platform for individual brands, individual people that have individual traits and characteristics and ways of being themselves that attract unique niches in their own right that one specific brand cannot reach, but a platform of a variety of personalities can take a single mission, as a single product, and bring it to places that a unified single company brand never can. It's to use an analogy as I sit here, you know, Hollywood to my left over the hill, it's kind of like the strategy of becoming a record label instead of the artist. In the past, there was maybe one brand, one artist, one type of music, one song that reached as far as it could, where now it's about a platform, becoming the record label and helping different artists with their own unique voice and their own unique art, right? Their own unique way of being to bring their passion for something they use and love to the world. And that record label shift is a massive shift. And with that means a whole set of approaches to help people become that brand, teach people how to really market who they are. It's not about finding the quote unquote influencer. It's about showing everybody that they can become an influencer by just scaling who they are with the world, sharing what they love and reaching a demographic. And you guys, that's power. That's power. It's no longer about one way or one system. It's about a platform that allows every way and every system to embody creativity and unique approach. And you guys, that's a shift, and that is so much more powerful than anyone. Diversity always has power. Getting, variety and uniqueness all together rowing the same direction is always going to have more magnitude. So I think a company as a platform would be kind of a fifth shift that's happening right now. And with that comes different ways to incentivize those individuals. I'm not going to go deep into, behavioral economics and understanding rewards, but I'll tell you this, the old school of, being a manager that manages people who manage people who manage people is going away. You guys, the economic flow in this world is getting flatter. All right, it's too easy for someone to become an Uber driver, grab a car, download an app, and make money today. It's too easy for someone to learn the Airbnb game. It's too easy for someone, and this gig economy has created this shift where people, for just their own personal activity, can go out there, spare time, part-time, and become a micro entrepreneur and make a full-time income or a spare time income just through their own efforts. And you guys, that is shifting the way the economics flow, the incentives flow in this channel, the ability to make a good spare time or full-time income just through sharing something yourself, your own actions, your own activity, not having to manage or control or influence anybody else, right? On the back of your own passion is a shift. I think beyond the structure conversations and the financial conversations, and I think there's also a lot of shift in just the energy at which all communities have to approach and offer people. I think people have been through so much the last couple years, like real stuff. I've had to overcome, I've had to endure, I've had to get through. That a higher empathy, maybe is the word, compassion, understanding, is the frequency of today. The old days of the command and control style leadership that used to be really effective. It's how we run militaries. It's how we run large organizations, large companies, the high directive, do it or else, pain and punishment if you don't. I think that's being traded in for more of a heart-centered, heartfelt approach at a human level. That's how we lead people, and that's how people want to be led, and it's a shift. And I think you get good at creating that environment and that belonging and that atmosphere, you'd be surprised of what people are really capable of, but it's a shift. Going on to maybe I think number 8 thought, that shift then builds a community. I think we use the word culture a lot to define the dynamic of people, right? Group dynamic, what gets passed on to others and what we get from others. And, I think culture is maybe an older word. I think community maybe is the currency of today, the coming together of people and the value exchange that happens in relation to that. And it makes sense. It makes sense that community, right, would be a currency for today. Coming off a time where we got deprived of our relationships, removed of our communities, like stuck for so long. There's nothing like taking something away to increase the value, right? Increase the value in our own life, to smack us upside the head and make us appreciate maybe things we took for granted. Guys, community is kind of the currency of the day. People deep into our DNA have a need to belong, a need to be loved, a need to be safe, right? It's built into who we are as people, as animals, right? But it makes sense now that awareness is higher than ever before, and therefore that community, that belonging, that movement mentality is a shift. It's different. It's a shift. It's not just about the paycheck. It's got to be about the purpose. It's not just about one person that's excelling. It's about how we can go together, right? It's not just about showing up and running motions, but it's about feeling like you belong and that you're a part of something bigger. Guys, that community is a currency of today. And again, addressing the time, can't not talk about the shift of how that community intersects with the virtual world. Guys, the virtual world, yeah, maybe pandemic sped up our realization of the power by force, but it's not going away now that we can get back together. We've learned the power of remote. We've learned what can be done virtually. We've learned there's things that are more effective. Guys, and I'm not here to say we live our life on Zoom or FaceTime, but let's be honest, there are things that we've learned that you don't need to be together. You don't need to go through traffic. You don't need to fly. You don't need to take time away from your kids or your family or your passions or your hobbies to do. Like, there's an efficiency in a virtual when it comes to relaying information, basic communication, even advancing education. Guys, information, right? Communication, education can all be done. And if you look at what we're doing right now around the world. But let's also not be naive and think that all of it can be done. So I think while we can learn to deliver information, education, communication in a virtual world, completely efficiency, I think there's still that value now to getting together. But when we get together, it can be more about an experience. It can be more about a feeling. It can be more about a depth of relationship. We don't have to spend our time together learning things that we can learn on a 5-minute video. We can spend our time together, breaking bad, doing something outside our comfort zone, right? Getting emotional, sharing feelings, getting vulnerable, deepening connection within that proximity. A higher value exchange for the time that we are together. It's a shift. It's a shift. Both are effective. And I think that's 9. Maybe I'll give one more. I know we've been on longer than usual today. Is this helping? You guys agreeing? I think the last one would probably just be stating the conversation that's in the air today as we move toward, I don't know, is it a recessionary environment as people are talking about inflation this, and I tend not to pay attention to anything that's really outside my control. I focus on what things I can control, but it would be naive to not be aware of the conversation that's in the mainstream today. And guys, I see that as opportunity. And I see that as opportunity maybe from experience. You know, my most success in a short period of time came out of a recessionary environment where we asked ourselves, like, how do we speak to the needs of a consumer in this time? How do we build a model and a message that can add value to a person in this time period? And in asking that bottom line question and designing a strategy to add value to a person and what they're feeling and going through in a period like this, when there's a greater time of need, there's a greater thing to fill. And having lived through the rapid success of one of the fastest growing brands in a recessionary environment, for sure in our lifetime, maybe ever, I know that there's opportunity as we go into this conversation, but you got to shift the way that you think, because if you continue to do what you did in a non-recessionary time, it's probably not going to work when the conversation shifts and the feeling shifts. But if you make the shift, if you are that disruptor and you add value to what people are feeling and going through, it can be an accelerator. So those are 10 thoughts that are super relevant to whatever channel name you want to call what it is that I do and we do. But I think most of those, if not all of those, can also be applied to a variety of organizations and where you want to go. And I think the main conversation is this: we're in a time of shift. We're in a shift season, right? The reality is that change is not coming. Change is already here. I'm not talking about the future of tomorrow. I'm talking about what is already here today, like what is happening right now. Like, we are in it. And a lot of the times that people, entrepreneurs, micro-entrepreneurs are evolving faster than the companies or the brands, right? The companies and the brands are acting like these big ships, these big Titanics, where individual entrepreneurs, we can be the jet skis, we can be the speedboat. The closer to the fire you are, the faster you can shift. The closer to the fire, the faster you can disrupt. If you are leading a big company, a big brand, a big community, find the people close to the fire. They're the ones, right, that are living what is today. You might be stuck in the past. And my fear, if you're in that situation of leadership, is if you do not shift, you're going to become obsolete. You will be the one that gets disrupted. Where in this scenario, you want to be the one that is the disruptor. And you can do that by finding the individuals that are out there making things happen. And for everybody else, you can be the individual that are making things happen. And that's the point of today's conversation. And maybe you take some of it, not all of it, of what you can apply, what you can adjust, what you can focus more on to make an impact in your own lane, in your own business, in your own endeavors today. And if you are a leader of a large organization, these are all things that should be on your mind, at least in my humble opinion of what's happening in the world. It is an exciting time. So guys, hey, I know someone came to your mind or your heart today. Tag them in the comments below. Maybe someone that is right now ready to make a shift, or maybe someone that's a leader of people that needs to be aligned with where this is going. If you agree with what I said, anything that stands out, let me know. If you have other perspective, things to add to the list that you're feeling or seeing, hey, you'd be doing me a favor and add some value to my day by throwing them in the comments. In the meantime, guys, as always, drop by the podcast, Alive by Design, all the places, leave some ratings and reviews. That helps us get the message out. Until the next time we walk together, I hope all of you have an absolutely inspiring week. And as we approach a disruption season, a season of shift, we see the opportunity in all of that and start to look at things in maybe a different way and make those subtle little shifts in what we do every day and how we lead every day to broaden our impact and move toward our own potential and everything that you can do and will do, and the gifts that you have that you get to give to the world.